Kal Kadosh, Mishna Yomi. We're on Masechet Bava Kamma, Perek, third chapter, Mishna Hey and Vav, 5 and 6. We're continuing again with speaking about different damages that were done in public domains because of bor. But now we're talking about that it wasn't that the human being was the cause of the damage. Each one had their own utensils and each one broke it. So it says like this: one person was coming from one direction with a jug, where that's the chavit, and the other one was coming with a korah, which is a beam. And the items collide together. So imagine they're walking towards each other in opposite directions. So this one's jug was broken by the beams. He's going to be patur. Because since they both have permission to go, which means that they weren't doing something illegal or they weren't doing something abnormal. Since they were both doing something normal and therefore it broke, they both had the permission to be there, and it wasn't the force of one more than another. Each one they collided. So therefore the fact that they collided, so therefore they're both going to be exempt, or the one of the beam is going to be exempt. He's not liable. Another case, though, what happens if the beam was the one of the beam was walking in front, and the one of the jug was walking behind him? So nishbera chavi b'korah, if the jug broke by the korah, patur bala korah. So the bala korah is going to be patur. Why is it going to be patur? Here in the footnote, it's what we have nowadays in general law. When two people are walking one behind each other, it is always the responsibility of the person in the back to maintain a safe distance between them. That's a Tiferet Yisrael, and that's also common law today as well, which means if you're following too close and then you bang into or you smash into the car in front of you, you are held obligated. So the same thing here. The person in the front had the beam, the one in the back had the jug, and the one of the jug smashed into the one of the beam, or he bumped into him, so the one of the beam is going to be exempt. However, though, if the owner of the beam stopped suddenly, and it was in an unexpected place, imagine he's just stopping in the middle of the street. Now, why are you stopping? And then he broke the jug into it. He's going to be chayav because he wasn't. But if he told him, if he told him stop, so then he's going to be exempt. Why? Because then he warned him. And if he warned him, he gave him the warning that he shouldn't have collided, he wouldn't have done this. Now the opposite case. If the jug was in the front, the bal korah acharon, ishbera chavit bakorah, right? And the jug was broken by the beam, he's going to be chayav to pay for it. Why? Because it was his fault. Again, the owner of the beam was in the back, so he's responsible for the collision. So he has to pay for it. Right? V'imamad bala chavit. But if he stopped, he's going to be patur. But the exact same thing. V'imamad lebala korah. But if he told the bala korah stop, right, which means he basically gave him the warning. So therefore he's going to be chayav in such a case as well. Says the Mishna, the same halachot would apply if one person is holding a candle and the other person is holding flax. So here in the footnote it says that the chidush is that even though I would have thought to say that it's very easy for the candle to catch fire onto the flax and therefore you should have been much more careful, it's the exact same case of the previous one, what we mentioned, to do with the beam and the jug. Two more cases of collisions in the public area. Mishnah 6, right? Mishnah Vav. If the two people were moving in the public area, one of them is walking and one of them is running. So here it says that it explains that we're talking about it's Erev Shabbat or Erev Yom Tov, that it's permitted to run because of Lichvod Shabbat and Lichvod Yom Tov. And therefore, since it's permitted to run, so therefore people are in a rush before Shabbat, so therefore it was okay. Or Shayu Shneim Ratzim, or both of them were running. Remember, the abnormal one is always one that's going to be chayav. Since it's Erev Shabbat or Erev Yom Tov, it's permitted for both of them to run. So even though only one of them was running, but he had the permission to do so, or if both of them are running, and therefore it could happen any day, regular day, and both of them are running. And they accidentally collided and injured each other. Shneim Pturim, both of them are going to be exempt from payment. Why? Because they're equally responsible, and therefore, since nobody's to blame, so they both are going to be, right? He says in the first case, the person who was running was allowed to do so. In the second case, both were running. So for nobody's responsible for each other, so therefore both of them are going to be exempt from both of the different halachot.